Yo, what's up, Longhairs? It's El Sicario. Most of you are probably familiar with me by now, but today I'm just gonna break down to you my journey from becoming a Longhairs customer to becoming a Longhairs employee. It started with cool hair ties. Sean, most of you know him as Elefante by now. We were working together on a month-long gig in the Philippines. We just really hit it off. We got along, and I had just started growing my hair out. He's like, I know your hair's not too long right now, but there's a super sick company in San Diego where we're from that makes hair ties for guys. In my mind, it was like, well, how can hair ties be different? They all look the same. I took the recommendation, but I kind of backlogged it.
How did you grow your hair out?
Up until that point in my life, I'd been a pretty clean-cut guy. You know, I was in the Marine Corps, and then after that, I actually worked for the Sheriff's Department. I was very strict about everything. I kind of realized one day that I wasn't happy, so I needed to make changes, and of course, something like growing your hair out might seem trivial to some people, but in my mind, like, the idea of having long hair just seemed so radical to me. And also kind of radical, right?
He's so radical.
I made a lot of changes in 1 year. I left the Sheriff's Department. I became a private military contractor, which was a huge leap for me, man. Like, that really helped me open up and allow myself to just kind of let life in. A big turning point for me was when I was working in the Philippines. I got to attend this big festival. At that big festival, there was this competition where a lot of different Filipino like dance groups would compete, and their whole performance was like in celebration of Philippine culture, so like various aspects of what it's like to be a Filipino person. It was like so beautiful, man, like all these colors and people just like so excited and just so happy to just be who they are. And I was so moved by it because, you know, I am part Chamorro, which are people from the island of Guam, or also known as Guahan. And I realized, like, I don't have this. I was not raised as a Chamorro kid, so I don't have an identity with my island heritage. So I saw these people and like I wanted what they had. And I know that back in the day, prior to like the missions arriving to the Pacific Islands, it was much more acceptable for men to grow their hair long. It was actually the norm. What if I try that? So I decided I'm just gonna grow my hair out because I'm kind of in this like letting life in phase, and also I want to get in touch with my more indigenous roots. So I said, just let it grow. That's what essentially I was doing, is I just made a conscious decision, like, you know what, man, I'm gonna let it ride. About 2 years went by. At that point, my hair was like touching my shoulders, but like most guys, I had been using what we call toxic ties. I'd been using these toxic ties and I was just sick of it. I mean, it was ripping my hair out and rolling, and you probably know what I'm talking about. I just had enough, and then I remembered. So I went to the longhairs.us, and all of a sudden I was like bombarded with like these crazy hair ties. I was like, I didn't even know that a hair tie could look like that. It was like this whole new perspective on, I'm not buying these hair ties because I need to, I'm buying these hair ties because I want to. I looked at all the styles and I saw like the really colorful ones, and I was like pretty excited about them. And then I was like, I don't know, like maybe I'll just get black ties, right? And so I actually had the black ties in my cart, and I was just gonna buy 2 packs of those. Literally, as I'm like putting in all my like shipping and all that stuff, I was like, what am I doing, man? Like, I'm trying to like let it ride, man. Like, what I ended up doing was, I said, okay, I already know I like these black ties, but let me do some fun stuff, right? So I got the Vikings and I got the kaleidoscopes, and they came in the mail, and I was like, oh my God, these are so sick, right? Like, you know, that's when I was like really clicking through and like looking at the blogs, and I was like, man, like these guys are serious. And there's blogs and videos, and they're on YouTube, and they were on the news. Like, what is this whole thing? This is like a movement. This isn't even like some faceless company that just wants your money, right? Obviously, like a lot of people, one thing that caught my eye was the Great Cut. And I was like, man, these guys, like, they set a world record for the most hair donated to charity. By all means, they look like they're just like bros, right? That, why would they care about little kids? But in reality, like, they really care. Like, just little children in general could have hair literally to look in the mirror and feel good about themselves, right? I really unpacked the psychology there some more. How does the Longhairs make their money? Our primary demographic is guys, right? So they got a bunch of guys to cut off the thing that we make money off of and donate it. Let's unpack that for a second. Those guys were bald. after they cut their hair off, which means we're not going to make money off of them for a while. These guys, they were making a statement. The way I saw it was, me getting the hair ties was, from my perspective, that was like my ticket to like, now I'm in this club. Because I want to identify with the kind of people that'll do something like set a world record to make sure that little kids can have some hair. You know, moving on from the charity aspect, one of the things I really liked was that like each guy in the crew had like his own personality. There's El Moreno, El Rubio, El Garbinski, like every guy's a little bit different. Obviously they're real people, but at the same time they're like these characters. You guys are having like a blast, and so like it kind of instilled like some FOMO where I was like, man, like who are these guys? Like we live in the same city, man. Like I gotta meet these guys. And then one day I was at his studio. I like to think I asked him. I'm pretty sure like I strong-armed him. And I was like, yo, I gotta meet these guys. I don't care. I'll go be your production assistant. Like, I don't care. I was like, I want to meet them. I want to be in their shoots. I want to be on their Instagram. Like, I want to go meet. You got to make this happen. And then Elefante was probably like, oh, like, okay, dude, you freaking weirdo. Like, maybe a couple weeks after, I don't remember if he like texted me or maybe said it in person. He was like, hey man, he's like, do you want to be in a long hair shoot? I was like, yeah. They're gonna release this Pacific Islander style hair tie, and they want a guy, you know, that obviously meets the criteria. He's like, you're the guy. Like the day of the shoot, because like I've been on a couple like tiny productions before, so I knew like don't start getting in, like don't get in the way. So I was just like, oh, like, hey, what's up, Moreno? Like, you know, dude, look, these are my hair ties. Like, look, I got the Vikings, you know. And I was like being a total fanboy, right? And then actually, you and I, El Garbinski, for those of you that don't know who I'm talking to, you and I had a conversation first, actually. So you were actually the first Longhairs crew member that I had an actual conversation with. The way I met El Spencerino was I brought my wife to the shoot, and my wife is like a very social person. So she and El Spencerino started chatting it up. When I went back, that's when she introduced me to El Spencerino, and then we just like started, you know, chatting. And then he had just joined the crew, so he was like brand new to the team. And so we just like hit it off, had a great time. We actually stayed friends after the shoot. Like we actually hung out several times. It was just the bromance was on, let's say. So we would like meet up, have some cigars. He like learned more about my life, and he became convinced that I would be a good podcast guest. So he like harassed El Moreno and El Rubio until they agreed to let me on the show. And I appeared on the show. I believe it was episode 97. I really hit it off with Moreno and Rubio. And so I left here feeling pretty good about it. Like, man, this is like a really cool crew that we have here. Maybe like a week or two went by, and then I saw on Longhairs' story that they were all hands on deck, like open call out to anyone that could come and help them move this massive shipment that they had coming in. It was supposed to be on a Monday. And so I showed up. The shipment like just never showed up. Moreno was cool enough to like show me around, and so I just started doing orders, and I was having a great time. And then the shipment never arrived, so I just ended up working the whole day anyway. Then he was like, okay, well, the shipment's coming on Wednesday now. And this time I just showed up like at the start of business, like even though the shipment wasn't supposed to be there until like noon or something like that. I already knew how to do it, so I just helped package orders. And I just packaged orders all morning, and then the shipment arrived, and it was over 14,000 pounds of shampoo and conditioner. Wild. It was like, what? All these pallets show up, and it was just like, oh my god, like this is so much stuff. The warehouse is on a second story, and so we had 14,000 pounds worth of stuff show up, and we had to carry it a few boxes at a time up the stairs and into the warehouse. And thankfully a bunch of guys showed up that day, so it was the whole crew plus me and 2 other volunteers. 3 or 4 boxes at a time, man. We moved 14,000 pounds of stuff, and I had my little Apple Watch, and it was like, are you working out? Like, and there's something to be said about a bunch of guys that like endure this hard task together. After that, they treated us to lunch, and then we all got to like sit around and have a beer and just chat and like have a good time together. That was the day where I walked away, and I was like, man, like I really felt almost like sad that I didn't work here. And so I kept in touch with El Moreno, and then he said, hey, why don't you like just come in for like a week, and we'll just show you like all the different stuff and then apply it to your business, right? And I think I may have worked like a couple more shifts, and then there was like the day where like the shift was over. I walked in to like just say bye and like thanks again, and then Rubio, like, he's at his desk, and then he like turns to me and he's like,
"Hey, you want a job?"
And I was like,
Sure.
to be in a pack, to be in a tribe is a privilege, and I think it's really important for other guys to see the importance of being dependable, where it's a privilege to be dependable, and it's a privilege to be counted on and to be wanted on the crew. My love for this team, it just keeps escalating, let's say. And like I went as far as being one of the guys that got the Bound Shears tattooed on me, right? Where we're just showing like, dude, if you want to have long hair, it's cool. No one gets to decide what you're supposed to look like. It's okay to go against the grain. And if you know what, if you feel comfortable with the grain, that's cool too, because that's just what you want for yourself. But for those of us that want to go against the grain and, you know, grow our hair out, or if you want to have a mullet, if you want to shave your head, like, it doesn't matter. In fact, I always had like a buzzed head most of my life. Like many guys, as I started to grow my hair out, I didn't really know like how to take care of it. I didn't know that there was a difference in shampoos and conditioners. One thing that really helped me was that the Longhairs has a series of blogs and videos and stuff that help educate guys and showing examples of, you see businessmen with long hair, you see scientists. Yeah, scientists, you see all kinds of stuff, and like the Longhairs are really exposing that this whole idea of like, oh, you need to cut your hair because it's unprofessional. Like, you know, what about me? Like, I'm a Marine Corps veteran and now I have long hair. You can't tell me I'm not manly enough or I'm not this or that. It's like, dude, those words mean nothing to me because I've already proved it multiple times over, and now I have long hair. All the guys that are out there, like, they might be the only guy they know in their whole circle of influence with long hair. And it's like, that's fine. You're the only one that needs to have long hair then. When they see us, whoever they are, we're that too. Yo, Longhairs, thank you for joining me and making it this far in the video on my recap of what it was like to go from Longhairs customer to Longhairs employee. Follow us on all social media platforms at The Longhairs. Turn on post notifications so you know when we put out new content. And don't forget, we have a second YouTube channel called Let It Ride. All right, boys. See ya!